The views expressed, opinions given, and any communication made between the hosts and guests of What Are You Afraid of Horror and Paranormal Show do not necessarily reflect the views or opinions of Para X Radio, EMC Network, or all services that play this show. The hosts and services are not responsible for the actions of their guests, and the original rights of all intellectual property is retained by the creator, and all work is used with either permission or Creative Commons license. The show is for entertainment purposes only. I'm horror author T. Fox Dunham.
And I'm horror author and filmmaker Phil Thomas.
And tonight we're asking you,
what are you afraid of? Philadelphia's horror home with hosts T. Fox Dunham and Phil Thomas.
Finally, it's getting a little warmer.
Yeah, it's about time.
Yeah. You see the temperatures at the end of the week?
Yeah, almost 80.
Almost 80 up here.
Yeah.
You have any plans?
I don't have any direct plans. I want to get out and enjoy the weather a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, it's that time of year. We've been cooped up in this ice box for months, and it's time.
Yeah, we've had 4 nor'easters.
Yeah. It snowed in April.
Yeah, it snowed in April.
Yeah,
it was supposed to snow last night. It did not, but
thank goodness.
Yeah, I know, thankfully.
Yeah.
But we were talking about going down to Ocean City.
Nice.
If I'm well enough.
Yeah.
In my head I want to go.
Right.
It's going to be a little cooler down there.
Yeah.
But we were out for Easter weekend.
Okay.
Had a great time.
Did you?
Yeah, we stayed down in Cape May.
Oh, nice.
Went to a lovely place called the Willow Creek Winery.
The Willow Creek Winery?
Yeah. It's like in the center of Cape May.
Uh-huh.
I mean, Cape May's not very big.
No, it's not.
But, down where the bird sanctuary is and the lighthouse park.
Yeah.
It's like there's the bird sanctuary on the left, and then you go right down this road, and there's the winery.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. And it's they have a lot of weddings there and things like that.
That's great.
But we sat there, and I really wanted to try the local wines, and they had different fruit wines, like blackberry wine, apple wine, and things like that. And so I ordered, they had flights.
Okay.
Flights, yeah. Different kinds. They had all their fruit wines. And they brought it over in this silver ornate carrier.
Wow.
That looked like a tree.
Uh-huh.
With the different glasses of wine.
Right.
Like on the different levels.
Right.
And they said, start with the apple on the top and work your way down.
Wow.
It was wonderful.
Nice. So you got some samples, huh?
Yeah, I did indeed. A nice little flight, so I could try the different things, the different glasses of wine.
I love wineries.
Yeah, it was really nice. You got to check out Willow Creek Winery.
I will.
At in Cape May.
Have you ever gone to the winery in Gettysburg?
No, I'd like to though.
Gettysburg Winery.
Yeah, okay. I'd like to. Have you been up there?
Yes.
Oh.
Well, I haven't been up there since last year.
Yeah.
But
right.
I've been to that winery before a couple years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a nice little spot. Right, pretty much in the center of town.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's small. It's like kind of like in the section of the row homes, like down past Farnsworth House, all that. But next time you guys are up there, you should
stop by.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were talking about going up into the summer.
Yeah, exactly.
Like October, September-ish.
Right.
A good time to go to Gettysburg. A lot of ghost stories and ghost tours up there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but we're going to try to get out Saturday and enjoy the warmer weather and maybe get my fishing license renewed.
Yeah.
If I can get out there. I know they haven't stocked a lot of places, but you can still go fishing up at Peace Valley Park.
Now, do you think the warm weather's back for good now, or do you think?
I think we're going to see some 60s and 70s, some 50s.
You see, I don't mind 60s, 70s.
Yeah.
I just don't like 40s.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's what it's been. But we're on the cusp.
Discussing the weather on What Are You Afraid of? Horror and Paranormal Show. This is episode 81.
Yes, it is.
We have some excellent Southern writers on the show.
And what is this episode? Writers of the South.
Writers of the South.
This is Writers
of the South. Cool episode.
Anyone know what that is a reference to?
Is that Riders of the Storm?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's The Doors.
The Doors. Right.
Riders on the Storm.
Nifty episode. We got a ghost story. We got a crime story from a very interesting gentleman. And we've got an interview with Max Booth and Lori Michelle over at Perpetual Motion Machine Publishing.
Mm-hmm.
But let's get started with our ghost story.
Okay.
This is Haunted Restaurant from Kerri Thomas on What Are You Afraid Of? Horror and Paranormal Show on Parax Radio, EMC Podcast Network, and all the major podcast services.
All of them.
If we're not on your podcast service, then you ain't worth it.
Yeah. Right now, there's someone out there upset saying, "Hey, I got a podcast service," and
Yeah. Well, then get us on.
Well, then I was just going to say, then get us on. Let us know.
Yeah. Right.
The Haunted Restaurant, written by Kerri Thomas, author of The Haunting of a Family. From her website, crankyhag.com. Read by David Walton. We have a new restaurant in town called Harbourside. Before it was the Harbourside, it was Five Rivers. Before that, it was Portofino's, and before then, it used to be the old River Room. The River Room has since moved to their current location, and Portofino's renovated the whole area, even adding on one of the old shops from the Fogel Mall as part of the bar area. Whenever we'd visit the River Room and I had to use the ladies' room, I always noticed someone was in there with me. I wasn't alone. When it became Portofino's and they put in 2 stalls, I would always distinctly hear someone in the second stall. I would hear footsteps come into the room, the stall door open and close, the rustling of the clothes, the toilet paper roll, even the water running in the sink afterwards. I never heard them flush though. When I would go out, there would never be anyone there but me. This happened 9 out of 10 times, and I have to say, it's never been a creepy or scary feeling. It's just a pronounced feeling of an unseen presence in the room with you. When it was still Portofino's, I had asked some of the staff if anything strange or unusual happened. I was told sometimes the staff would come in the next day and the lights would be on, or things would be moved around and not in the same place as they were left the night before. While dining at the now new Harbourside restaurant, I mentioned to the staff about the bathroom ghost and asked them if they too noticed anything odd or strange occurrences. The waiter shared that the lights still go on and off and things being moved around. Also, the TV will be on when we come in, he added. Sometimes too you can hear the music going up and down and no one is close enough to change the volume. I did visit the ladies' room while there, but I did not receive a mysterious visitor this time. When I came back, the waiter came over and asked if it happened again. No, not this time, I confirmed. What about the paper towels, he asked. When I'm in the men's room, sometimes it will start unrolling on its own, and I'm not anywhere close by to trigger the automatic dispenser. My husband shared with me that the building, upstairs above the Fogel Mall, was once an old boarding house and suggested that maybe the haunts are from that era. I don't know, but I do know the building is very old and historic. I'm sure many old and current shop owners could add more to this story and very well might. Until then, I will continue to enjoy the delicious and awesome food, as well as the place being a local haunt in Georgetown. If you enjoyed this ghost story, please check out the author's book on Amazon.com, The Haunting of a Family by Kerri Thomas, and her website www.thecrankyhag.com for more of her stories.
Are you in the Bucks County area, second weekend of June, and in need of a bit of spooky? What Are You Afraid of? Paranormal Show will be at the first Paranormal Expo at Selma in Norristown, PA. Special guest, P.D. Kazak, horror author and winner of the Bram Stoker Award. Selma Mansion is one of Bucks County's most haunted sites, where guests see candles burning in the windows, spirits moving in the night, and hear the voices of the dead. Come visit horror authors T. Fox, Dunham, Thomas, and P.D. Kazak on June 9th and 10th at 1304 West Erie Street, Norristown, PA. Stay for the cadre of speakers and workshops with famous ghost hunters and paranormal authors. Check out their website at www.whatdoyourfreedompodcast.com for ticket information. Children under 12 are free. Paranormal investigation, $40, sold separately. Psychics, ghost hunters, storytellers, and maybe if you will pass through to the other side. Oh, and fill in Fox and PD. Oh my.
Are you haunted by shadow people in the middle of the night?
Do you secretly love all things creepy and spooky, enjoying ghost stories and horror fiction from the best storytellers?
Do you have a true ghost experience you want to share, but no one will believe you?
If yes, listen to the professionals on What Are You Afraid of? Horror Paranormal Show Friday nights at 9 p.m. on Para X Radio and at www.whatdoyourafraidofpodcast.com.
What are you afraid of on Para X?
Our creepy and demented hosts are on call to provide you with all your spooky needs with true ghost stories, interviews, indie music, and new horror fiction. We are ready to scare you.
Para X.
I'm Jenna Valadez with the Basement Files. Tune in Friday nights, 6 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. Eastern, right here on the Para X Radio Network.
So, watching Netflix. You enjoying anything on Netflix?
Right now, I'm not watching anything specifically on Netflix. Mm-hmm. I just got done a Hulu series, which I was telling you about a while ago, that 11/22/63.
And that's Stephen King.
Stephen King, based on the Stephen King book, stars James Franco. Mm-hmm. And and he goes back in time to 1960.
Okay.
And to prevent the assassination of John F. Kennedy.
John F. Kennedy.
Yeah, I highly recommend it. For anyone that hasn't seen it, you should definitely read the book and watch the series. It's great.
I know there was a good novella there, right?
Is it a novella?
I think it was it's somewhere. Well, for Stephen King, it was pretty short.
Okay.
I remember seeing that come out. I mean, the man's a machine.
I know he is. He really is.
He's honed the craft to the point where he's just spitting out books like a gumball machine.
I know. I'm jealous. I wish I could write that fast.
Yeah. Well, it's gotten a little thin.
Right.
I mean, I can make soup that fast too, but I'd rather make a good meal.
Right.
Don't know what that means. No, I like that. I was watching this morning while I was working something called Super Volcano.
Okay.
Which I remember it coming out on like Discovery Channel or TLC. It's a show, it's a 2-part miniseries all about whether the caldera in Yellowstone, it's a giant super caldera, and nobody knows that because it's flat.
Okay.
You look at it and you don't go, that's just a bunch of lakes and things like that.
Right.
It could explode. Apparently it's gone off every 600,000 years.
Okay.
And we're due for an explosion. We're due for an eruption.
Oh, God.
And if it goes off, it'll be 25 times more powerful than Mount St. Helens.
Whoa.
I mean, depending how long it goes. I mean, of course, there's worst case scenarios and best case scenarios. But we're talking about, this is not a volcano going off. Mm-hmm. This is a landmass exploding.
Yes. With
magma and pumice and pyroclastic flows and everything nasty. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, the surrounding area would be devastated up to 100 miles.
Wow.
And the ash that it would put into the Earth's atmosphere and sulfur and carbon dioxide would not only block out the sun, mm-hmm. lowering menial Earth temperatures, but it would also coat America in this heavy ash, which would basically collapse civilization.
Oh my God. Really?
Yeah, so we're talking about a civilization ender.
Wow.
We're talking end of the world apocalypse.
Wow.
Kind of thing. I mean, people would survive and the Earth would begin to restore itself, but it would take 20, 30 years to really get back to anything that you were at. And so, this thing's gone off 2 or 3 times so far.
Right, yeah.
And it's due again. And it's just, it's a massive, it was an interesting, we're What Are You Afraid of? Paranormal Show, and horror comes in so many different ways.
Yes, it does, yeah.
And we were dealing with natural disasters, kind of like Hurricane Katrina. Those nor'easters we had were quite severe.
Yeah, they were.
They really buried us in some snow, and power went out.
They did, yeah.
For several days. I mean, people wouldn't have power for weeks.
I know.
And everyone around was running around like with their chicken with their head cut off after not having power for one night. I mean, it was mass hysteria at the diners. People were yelling at each other with car accidents.
I know.
You can imagine if a super caldera went off.
No, I couldn't. No.
What would you do?
What would I do?
Yeah, I mean, okay, let's play that scenario.
Okay.
You're sitting in the car coming home from work.
Okay.
And you hear over the radio, Yellowstone super caldera has exploded. Ash is coating areas of Colorado, Wyoming. An ash cloud is heading for the east coast and will be upon us within the next 3 hours. Heavy ashfall will destroy power grids, contaminate water supplies, kill crops, destroy visibility, and cause cats and dogs to learn new languages and speak like the devil. So what would you do if you heard that on the radio?
Well, first thing I would think of is clean air.
Yeah, clean air, okay.
That's the first thing I would think, because you can't breathe that.
What they were saying was that the pumice gets into the moisture in your lungs, turns into a cement, and suffocates you.
Right.
Yeah.
So the first thing I would look into is getting some oxygen masks very quickly. Mm-hmm. Not just for me, but for other people, as well. That would be the absolute first thing, because you need to breathe.
Yeah, so you do.
I would go to the store. Mm-hmm. I would stock up on some food. Now, granted, you only got 3 hours to do all this. I don't know.
And consider that everybody else is probably going to start panicking when they hear it.
Exactly. So I don't know, and that's the problem. Like you can't. It's not just you; it's everyone.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't even know where I'd go for some oxygen masks. To be honest, I mean,
a hardware store
at that point. Yeah.
You go because people paint.
Right.
And they need oxygen masks. Yeah.
Right. That's true. Yeah, that's what I would do, and as much food as possible. Stock up on food. Get some water.
Yeah.
Food, water, oxygen. That's really what you need.
Yeah.
And those are the essentials. Those are the first few things I would do. How about you?
Probably the same.
Yeah.
I'd be like, Allison, you're leaving work. We're going to Walmart real quick, and don't stock up for 3 days. They told people to stock up for 3 days, and they were grossly, inadequate supplies. So it would be like, and you get the stuff that stays. You get nuts, you get grain, you get bags of flour,
the non-perishables,
and you need cooking fuel.
Right.
You need cooking fuel. You need bottles of water, and you come home and you fill your bathtub with water. You fill every container you got with water, and cover it up. And you need fuel. And then we would probably go to the petrol station and bring a gas can with us.
Yeah.
And fill that up.
Fill the gas can.
But it's scary, and it could happen.
It could happen.
Lucky so far. But I mean, if you look at Katrina really showed us how close to the edge we are.
Yeah. Katrina was not a nice woman.
No,
she was mean. One of the meanest women I've ever met.
Yeah, she was pretty mean.
Yeah. Knocked my power out for 5 days.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Wow. Yeah. So
that's the longest that I can remember in my lifetime being without power. Was Katrina. She's the one that did it.
It took a long time. I mean, New Orleans, darling. It's New Orleans, darling. When I went down there, it was basically an apocalypse.
Okay.
It was lawless. The National Guard had left.
Right.
People were fighting in the city. It was hell.
Right. Yeah.
And nobody wanted to think about it.
Right. Yeah. I think one of the worst things would be some people wouldn't take it seriously.
Yeah.
And a lot of people would just die from it.
Yeah.
There'd be mass deaths everywhere.
Yeah.
That's like a nightmare scenario.
They were talking 25 million people would be covered in ash, and I think like 2-3 million people would die initially.
Wow.
Just from the ash and from inhalation and car accidents and things like that. And the infrastructure would be gone.
You said affecting the United States. Now, another option would be to leave the U.S.
Yeah, and that's what a lot of people tried to do. And Mexico closed its borders.
Right.
And Canada closes its borders. They can't handle the refugee.
Right.
I mean, usually it's the U.S. that handles the refugees.
Yeah.
And long-term consequences. The U.S. is the world's farm.
Right.
A lot of the food around the world comes from the U.S. And if looking at where that caldera is located, it would just blow the crap out of all the farms. Right. It would kill all the crops. It would kill all the livestock. Yeah. That's the breadbasket out there. We're talking about a significant reduction in the quality of life for the world.
Right. Yeah.
If that were to happen, wars would start. It wouldn't be good.
No. God. No, it's something I couldn't even imagine.
Yeah.
That's a horror movie right there.
You know what I couldn't imagine? Life in prison.
No. I couldn't either.
We got a very interesting story tonight from a gentleman called Christopher Roy, and it was brought to me from Crime Wave Press, and it's a crime story called Marsh Madness. And Christopher Roy is currently inmate number K8649. He's a convicted murderer, serving a life sentence since the age of 18 in Mississippi's high-risk unit of Parchman Prison. And he went down there for killing a drug supplier from a Vietnamese gang down there. And he's been in there since he was 18.
Wow.
You know, can you imagine that?
And what year was that?
2000, yeah.
2000.
He's been serving a life sentence in the Mississippi Department of Corrections.
So he's been there 18 years.
18 years.
Wow.
Yeah. He apparently escaped twice.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
He escaped
and back in. I mean, how can you escape these days? There's just...
I know.
Information superhighways everywhere. Cameras are everywhere.
Exactly. If you were in there for life, would you try to escape?
I don't know.
You don't know?
I don't know.
I mean, there's nothing to lose. You're in there for life anyway.
I don't know. I don't know if I'd have, want to escape or just try to create what quality of life I could.
That's true. Yeah. Oh, you can look at it either way.
Yeah.
But, well, that's what he's doing now.
Right.
He's creating a quality of life for himself.
He's fighting for important causes.
Mm-hmm.
You can find his website at www.unjustelement.com. All one word, unjustelement.com. And this is his story, Marsh Madness, read by David Walton on What Are You Afraid of? Horror and Paranormal Show.
Marsh Madness, published in Near to the Knuckle by Chris Roy, read by David Walton. The heron stalked through the flooded marsh, eyes intent on movement below the muddy surface. Beak aimed like a javelin. It stopped, poised to strike. Patient. The heron flinched before it burst out of the water, thrust from its huge wings, leaving a mist like a jet's contrail as it soared to a safe height over the maze of marsh islands. Out of the haze of fog drifting over the water emerged a man. Behind him, as if he had bored a tunnel through the thick gloom, were woods with ancient oak trees twisting out into the bayou. Long tendrils of dull grey moss snaking down to the mud seemed to vibrate with a dissonant buzz. Hundreds of thousands of insects clung to the trees and brushed along the bank, belting out a chorus that was randomly broken up by disturbances in the water. Hunched over, dull grey beard hanging like moss from a sun-weathered face, the man blazed a trail of silence, stepping through the muck with a heron's patience. His eyes, black and stretched wide, had an unnatural gleam in the twilight. An alligator hide rifle case was slung across his back, one hand holding the butt close to his flank, silencing its movement and that of his rubber waders. With his other hand, he pushed aside sharp blades of grass that would have sliced into most people's skin. He came to the edge of the marsh island and stilled himself. Standing tall, a scarecrow overlooking a huge field of dead corn stalks, his eyes shifted to the left as theme park music began playing in the far distance. A Ferris wheel stood above the fog bank, lights from several small rides glaring up at it, giving the entire fairgrounds a faint glow. The high-pitched, tinny notes penetrated the thick gloom, floating along with it. The man bared his black gums in that direction for a moment. Deep wrinkles spread from his eyes and mouth. Absently, he rubbed his ear. A twisted, misshapen scar ran right through it. A dog barked. The man's head turned forward in a blink, wrinkles deepening with a smile. Across the narrow channel was a large dog standing on a low wooden pier, a golden retriever. Behind the dog, on top of a hill, a dark grey mist shrouded a small mobile home. A breeze pushed out of the woods, momentarily showing a porch, a yellow light struggling to illuminate steps. A swing set, barbecue grill and trampoline were haphazardly placed in a large overgrown yard that sloped down to disappear into the high tide. Claws ticked and scrambled over broken, failing planks. The dog barked at the water. A wave of silence spread rapidly throughout the marsh. The insects started up again. The dog's panting could be heard clearly across the channel. The object of the dog's interest was 3 feet below the end of the pier. Sticking up like an old stump was the head of a bull alligator. The dog, unafraid, seemed to play a game familiar between the two. The barking, clawing and loud panting continued. Around the man, frogs had joined the bugs, quieting after barks, as if considering how to reply and join in their game. "Mario! Mario! Dummy! Get away from there!" A small boy materialized in the mist at the top of the yard. A screen door creaked and slammed on the trailer. He ran down to the pier, stopped and whistled, clapped his hands. "Come here, boy! Mario!" The retriever glanced at the boy, tongue lolling, started wagging his tail. His head swiveled back to the alligator, mouth opening, closing, tip of his tongue wiggling with each pant. He barked again, pawed the pier, bounced up and down, darted from side to side. The man hadn't moved. He observed the alligator, peripherally tracking the dog and the boy. "Stupid dog, come on! We're not supposed to play on the pier. Mom's gonna yell at us." He wrung his hands, chewing on his lip. Mario kept barking and wagging at the alligator. The boy stepped carefully onto the pier, looked over his shoulder at the trailer, then ran to the end of the pier, leaping a jagged hole. His sneakers thumped to a stop, arms encircling Mario's neck. "Come on! What are you doing?" He looked down into the water. Wide-set, emotionless eyes looked back at him. "Whoa! Crud! The alligator!" The dog turned to lick the boy, rear end wagging, and threw him from his feet. He shouted as his hands and chin banged hard on the planks. His shoes splashed in the water, legs sliding in. The alligator's head disappeared in a swirl of black. The man moved quickly. Grabbing the top of the rifle case, he unsnapped it, slid out a crossbow, and unfolded the arms, locking them, loaded a bolt, brought it to his shoulder, aiming through a high-powered scope at the boy's legs. "Mario!" All the boy's breath burst from him in a single scream. Around the man, the marsh creatures scattered into the grass or water. The boy tore at the planks with his tiny fingers, shoes thudding into the water behind him. The dog wore a puzzled expression. He chuffed, pawing the pier in front of the boy. Then he stretched and bit the collar of the boy's shirt, jerked and snatched him back onto the pier. The boy's shoes cleared right as the alligator popped up under them. "Whoa! Shoot! Whoa! Whoa!" The boy staggered, gripping his shirt, pushing at Mario until he let go. The big dog abruptly spun and ran off the pier. The screen door slapped shut from the trailer and a tall, sandy-haired woman in jeans and flip-flops walked down to the water, gesturing with a hairbrush. "God damn it, Sam, really? I told you not to play by the water and specifically not on the pier, and your freaking clothes are wet? Get your ass in the house and get changed. You're going to be late for the bus." She stuck the brush in her back pocket, whistled loudly, clapped her hands. "Mario, let's go, boy! Get your ass in the house. You better not be wet too." Mario barked and waggled, looking at the woman. Then he bounded up the yard and raced past her. The woman turned to follow her chastened son, and the man aimed the scope at her ass. His lips peeled back, blackened gums catching light that darkened them further. Lines branching from the corner of his eyes, blending into single deep furrows. Jeans stretched over hips, dug into buttocks at 70 times. The man's finger caressed the weapon's trigger. The stump appeared in the water again, this time where the yard met the water. The dog zoomed past the woman and boy, barking up a storm. The man tracked the alligator as it moved slowly towards the yard, crosshairs centred just behind its eyes. Mario, bounding downhill, tongue lolling in a toothy smile, barked his "I'm a good dog, let's play" bark. As he came to a sudden stop, the man brought the crossbow up slightly and shot the dog in the front leg. Gravity and momentum were against the big dog. He pitched over into the bayou. The stump vanished. The dog never surfaced. The splash made Sam and the woman stop and turn around. They didn't see Mario. The woman frowned severely. The boy looked alarmed. When Mario didn't respond to his name being called, Sam ran back to the pier. The woman followed, flip-flops slapping hard against her feet. The man took aim at her chest, shirt straining against her swaying breasts. His finger moved faster, though still gently, over the trigger. "Well, where the hell is he?" The woman planted her feet, fists on hips. "Mario!" She demanded for Sam to find his dog and get his ass to the bus stop, wet clothes and all. Sam, completely bewildered, looked from the pier to the water, looked at his mum and shrugged. He squinted at the woods, leaned over and peered intently through the fog at the marsh across the channel. He gasped and jerked upright. A sob caught in his throat as his eye moved back to the pier, to the water. He turned towards his mum. "The alligator, Mum! The alligator!" "The alligator? What about the alligator?" the woman muttered. "Shit!" and walked down next to Sam, frowned at the water. Her eyebrows lifted. She put her hand to her mouth. She almost said, "But that old gator and Mario are friends." But Sam knew better, and so did she. Sam took a deep, sharp breath and let out a wail that pierced deep into the bayou. The heavy fog began lifting. A fresh breeze billowed Sam's wet pants as he clung to his mother's leg, sobbing. The man's smile broadened to a full grin, tiny pinpoints of light refracting from his jet eyes and gums. One eye closed and he looked through the scope once more. A dry suction emitted from his throat, tongue pressing into his top gum, unsticking. Carnival music, louder now that the fog was lifting, tinkled on the breeze as the man studied the woman's backside again. She bent over to pick up her crying son and carried him up to the porch. Chris Roy was raised in South Mississippi, in the midst of ugly Gulf Coast beaches and spectacular muddy bayous. Chris lived comfortably with the criminal ventures of his youth until a fistfight in 1999 ended tragically. Since January 2000, he's been serving a life sentence in the Mississippi Department of Corrections. Nowadays, he lives his life crime vicariously through the edgy, fast-paced stories he pens, hoping to entertain readers. When he isn't writing, he's reading, drawing, or looking for prospects to train in boxing.
Mercy, a new horror medical thriller from author T. Fox Dunham, published by Bloodbound Books. Based on the author's horrific battle with a rare form of lymphoma that involved intense chemotherapy and radiation, Fox turns the horror of his experience into terror on the page.
William Saint is dying of cancer. On most days, death seems like a humane alternative to the treatment. Stricken with fever, William is rushed to Mercy, notorious as a place to send the sickest of the poor and uninsured to be forgotten, and finds the hospital in even worse condition than his previous visit.
Willie's memories faded. He grabbed his sack head, the sack head of the scarecrow, picking at the exposed chicken wire to hold them in. However, the memories fell out of the holes in his face. They wormed and crawled from the leather flesh and the old clothing of the scarecrow, then squirmed and wiggled down his body.
The grounds are unkempt, the foundation is cracking, and like the wild mushrooms sprouting from the fissures of decay around it, something is growing inside the hospital. Something dark.
Fangoria gives Mercy 3.5 out of 4 skulls. Dunham has channeled his many brushes with the other side into the exquisitely rendered, lyrical, supernatural hospital thriller Mercy.
It's feeding on the sickness and sustaining itself on the staff, changing them, and now it wants Willie.
Come now, Mr. Saint. Just a little more of that sweet milk. So salty and so good. You won't miss it. And we ever do so like our delicacies here at Mercy Hospital.
Part medical horror, part supernatural suspense, Mercy is a hard-hitting fever dream of a novel. I enjoyed the hell out of it. Tim Wagner, author of The Way of All Flesh and Eat the Night. Available from Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and bookstores everywhere in both print and digital versions.
Life is an addiction.
Let go. Let it all burn.
Caliburn Press, LLC is a Madison, Wisconsin-based publishing company owned and operated by Alan Ledden. Caliburn works with talented writers, artists, editors, and marketers throughout the United States, and you can find their books through their many imprints that include Damnation Books, Eternal Press, Malaferia Press, Ciento Sordida Publishing, and Spiro Publishing. Please visit their website at sites.google.com/site/Caliburn Press LLC/home or Google Caliburn Press to check out their growing list of titles on Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, and any other place fine books are sold.
Powerful stuff.
That was good.
Set in the bayou.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You know, alligators and swamps and...
You ever been to the bayou?
No, I've never been in the bayou.
Never been in the bayou?
No.
Have you been to New Orleans?
I have been to New Orleans.
Okay.
Yeah, but I didn't leave the city.
Oh, you didn't leave it. So you never ventured out into the swamps of the bayou?
But I have sunk a kayak in the marshlands of Cape May.
Yeah, yes, you did.
Yeah, I was...
And then you wrote a story about it.
I did, and sold it.
That's right. I still remember the name.
Yeah.
The Mud Jury.
The Mud Jury.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So that was... I mean, it's not the bayou, but it was pretty...
It was still swampy, right?
It was in the middle of nowhere, and the way the tides come in, I mean, it's nothing but thick mud.
Yeah.
And the smell, and you know, dead animals everywhere, and dead... I mean, it's very pretty when you're in a kayak.
And you were by yourself.
I was.
Yeah.
My wife had abandoned me. I'm pretty sure she put a hole in the boat and fled. Yeah. We were talking about that the other day. We were down there, and my wife was back at the place with the kayaks, and she said she went to the bathroom and she was waiting for me to come back, and the girl who works there comes over and says, "We're pretty sure your husband hasn't drowned, but he's had some kind of accident out there." I had my phone on me.
Yeah, you did.
I keep a plastic pouch that I wear that's watertight, and I keep my phone in it.
Right.
Because when I'm kayaking, and I'm just doing it for exercise, I like to listen to music. So I had my phone on me. Unfortunately, I had signal out there, because I don't know what I would have done.
I was going to ask you that. Like, what would you have done if you went to pull your phone out, make a call, and then there's no service?
I probably would have had to wait for help.
Yeah.
There were people coming back and forth.
That's good.
You couldn't swim,
right?
Because it was only a few feet of water, and underneath was thick mud where you put your leg down, it sinks.
Wow.
Way down.
Wow.
And so I couldn't walk either.
Okay.
So I would have had to wait for someone to come and rescue me.
Jeez.
I mean, I wasn't drowning, but I was trapped.
Yeah. I mean, you could have drowned, though.
Yeah, I suppose so. Yeah, it was just such a...
If it gotten bad enough, you could have.
But I was okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it was an adventure, and like I said, I wrote a horror story based on that and sold it.
That's great.
Made some money off that.
Yeah. Hey, made some money off of the experience, right?
You always do that.
Yeah.
You have a tragedy, write about it.
Right.
You know, that gentleman, Christopher Roy, his life was a tragedy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, now we are talking about getting him on the show. And I think he's going to have some very cool things, interesting things to say.
Yeah, that would be great to get him on the show. Hopefully we can do that.
Yeah, we're working on it.
Yeah.
I mean, working with Crime Wave Press. I mean, we have so much content coming in. And so many people who want a few minutes. And our lives are really crazy at the moment.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So it's hard to maintain all this. But we'll get to you.
Yeah.
And to end tonight, we have an interview I did with Max Booth and Lori Michelle over Perpetual Machine Publishing. And we know Max.
Oh, yeah.
You know, we know Max and Lori. They've been on the show before, and they've been friends. And it's kind of nice to catch up to see what they're doing in publishing. And also they talk about what it's like being a small indie press.
Right.
She designs books.
Yeah, she does.
She designs most of the best horror books right now coming out.
That's great.
You know, in indie press. Yeah. So this is What Are You Afraid Of? Horror and Paranormal Show on Parax Radio, EMC Podcast Networks, all major podcast services. And you can find more information about the show when I get a chance to update it at www.whatareyoufraidofpodcast.com. You can check us out.
Yeah. Please do.
Well, Phil, we'll be talking next week.
Yes, we will. We'll be back next week.
Well, this is T. Fox Dunham.
And I'm Phil Thomas.
This is Katrina Weidman of Destination America's Paranormal Lockdown, and you're listening to What Are You Afraid Of? Horror and Paranormal Show.
My name is Greg Bakken. I'm a writer, a producer, and a paranormal investigator. My favorite way of communicating with spirits is through using the spirit box, also known as a ghost box. I invite you to listen to me every Wednesday at 10 p.m. Central for interviews with people in the paranormal community and beyond. Plus, I will also include as much of my spirit box evidence as I can during my show.
My name is Greg. Can you say Greg? Can you say Jeff? Greg. Jeff.
Join me every Wednesday at 10 p.m. Central Time for Minnesota Ghost Box, only on Parax Radio.
In the future, roving bands of comic book podcasts will savage the wasteland, once known as the Internet. One podcast, the Grawlix Podcast, may not be the biggest, may not be the funniest, may not be the most well-spoken. Wait, what was my point again? Oh yes, the Grawlix Podcast. Listen to it at grawlixpodcast.com. That's GRAWLIX podcast.com.
On episode 81, Writers of the South, we feature some great writers and publishers in the American South. In Texas, Max Booth III and Lori Michelle are busy publishing their hearts out in indie press. I was just on one of their shows, Castle Rock Radio or some such nonsense like that, and they're back with us, and I'm sure they'll be back again many times. They're the owners of Perpetual Motion Machine Publishing, and they published my book, Destroying the Tangible Illusion of Reality, or Searching for Andy Kaufman, which I know Ceiling Cat quite adores at Parax. PMMP is a publisher who has stayed in the game, while many of the other indie publishers have collapsed. They're old friends. We've had some wild times in Narlands, where I earned the name Long Island Fox, and Max earned the name Hurricane Max based on the drinks we sort of had down there on a vampire tour. Castle Rock Radio is pretty amazing. They're doing all this Stephen King stuff. They're dissecting the stories of Stephen King and desperately trying to get his attention. The episode was called Stephen King is Finally Coming to Kill Us.
Finally!
Thank God!
It's about time.
Yes, Max has a death wish. He wants to die by the hand of Stephen King. How are you guys?
Oh, just fine.
I'm hanging in there, yeah.
I thought you died for me.
Well, you know.
I thought Stephen King.
I thought he finally got me.
Fulfilled his obligation. Yeah.
Yeah, because we were talking about the Boogeyman.
The Bogeyman. Yeah.
So, how do you do Castle Rock Radio? I mean, I know doing a show like What Are You Afraid of? Horror and Paranormal Show, it's really all about finding new and fresh content. I'm always digging for content and stressed about it.
Yeah, but also, I mean, the way we do the show is we just pick something Stephen King has written. Mm-hmm. So that kind of helps us out.
It helps because we don't have to find necessarily any original content. We just have to read the story that is...
And plus, both of us will just insanely funny. I mean, we don't even have to try.
The guy's not young. He's been writing for a long time, and eventually you're going to run out. Well, one day, 100 years in the future, what happens when you run out of Stephen King material?
I'm done with the podcast.
Well, we've always said that it's like...
Yeah,
okay,
we've done some Joe Hill stuff.
We could do Joe, we could do Owen, we could
do Tabitha. We could do anything. It doesn't even have to be by the bloodline. I mean, Richard Chismell, he's connected to Stephen King. Peter Straub, we could do all of his books because there's a connection.
As long as there's a connection. Besides the fact that I'll probably be dead in 30 years, but that's okay.
The planet will be just dust.
So what's going on with Perpetual Motion Machine Publishing? I remember when it was just an idea. Max and I used to chat at 3 a.m. on Facebook back in the days when we were still dreaming and not writing, when we were happy. And I had this idea for a short story about people, facing the world like Andy Kaufman did by becoming different people. And I sort of pitched it to him. And he loved it. He said, write it up for me. And I thought it would be a good novel. And he had no idea who Andy Kaufman was. So, looking back on the last couple of years, how would you say you've grown as a publisher?
Well, we have half of a clue of what the hell we're doing now, I think. We know not to take on too many projects at once.
Right, yeah.
I think we're a lot more selective about the style of stories we take.
We have an audience now.
Yeah, people actually know who we are.
We have a collective of readers who will just buy anything we release, sight unseen.
Yeah.
All 10 of them. Yeah.
I don't know what you said. It broke out.
10 of them, yeah.
All 10 of them. The whole Bakel's dozen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't really do any preparation when we launched the company, like a couple of doofuses. So since we began in 2012, it's been a frantic hustle of trying to figure this whole thing out, and along the years we've gotten somewhat of a clue.
Yeah, I mean, we now know more what to do, not to do.
We've made many mistakes, and we learned from them. And
I mean, there's still a lot of stuff for us to learn.
I mean, for instance, we came on this podcast.
Yeah, I know. Next year you'll be shaking your head going, God, why did I do that?
Didn't we say we wouldn't do that again? What the fuck?
And you come back on the show to tell us that.
Yeah, we'll tell you all about it next show.
Well, you financially stable now. I know a lot of people do these things at a loss, hoping one day to be profitable, but they never quite get there, at least, stable. Is it bringing in an income?
No, well, it does support itself.
We'll make a profit.
Yeah.
But we're not ready to quit a job.
Yeah, there's not enough there for us to sustain on, but it does. The company is self-sufficient.
Well, not in the red.
No,
the black.
We're in the black.
One of the two.
So if you look at my taxes, it says otherwise, but
yeah, hopefully the IRS is.
Don't listen to this IRS.
we write off quite a bit.
Well, you've had some neat books come out in the past. I know you published Jay Wilburn and Joe McKinney, and a lot of unknowns, in Bizarro and stuff that you've sort of built a name for. Do you have any cool books coming out soon this year that we should know about?
Of course we have cool books coming out in the next 6 months. Our next one will be Bonesaw by Patrick Lacey.
Yeah, it's about a B-movie film company, a filmmaker who moves to a small town to shoot his latest movie, and the infamous slasher, the Pigfoot Man, happens to come to life. It's pretty campy, but it's fun. We just did the Detained by Christopher Triana. It's a novella about a high school reunion that isn't what it seems.
Recently, we also released Speculations by Joe McKinney, and it's a collection of his non-zombie stories, and you can get that in paperback as well as hardback.
Yeah,
that looks fun. I think I'm going to grab that.
We got told with that one.
We also will have Volume 1 of the books of, is it Born in Blood? Books of Blood? Born in Blood. I never can remember the name of it. By George Lee, and it's kind of an interesting collection because he's also got pictures that go along with it, and him and his friend have made videos about it.
Yeah, they've gone on.
They've created this whole entire world around Born in Blood.
Yeah, it was a massive collection called Born in Blood that exceeded 200,000 molds, so we recently decided to split it up into 2 volumes. So Volume 1 will be coming out soon, and Volume 2 probably around October-ish.
I know that Lori is doing pretty well for herself as a book designer.
I'm trying.
Yeah,
I gotta keep food on the table somehow.
It seems that you've got quite a few clients there. You design books for a lot of the major indie publishers.
Yeah, what presses do you do now?
Right now, I do Crystal Lakes publications. I do Burning Willow Press's books. Sometimes I do Bloodbound, depending on how busy Mark is. I take care of all of our books. I do all of Bizarro Pope Press books. It's decent, like any freelancing thing.
She took me out to dinner last night.
I did. Yeah. Isn't that exciting? I've got a few independent authors that I do stuff for that always constantly contact me.
Which we probably can't name.
No, not yet because it hasn't been released yet.
Well, I mean, I don't know, like with the self-published authors, I don't know how that will.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I guess you could, but you have a lot of them.
Yeah, I would have to pull out a list, and too lazy for that nonsense. I go still old school. I use Quark Express.
Chisel and stone.
Chisel and stone. And then to make the ebooks, I have to use Kindle Gen and HTML. So a lot of times we hire Matthew Revert to do our covers. The last 2 covers I've actually done. We bought a whole bunch of art from this artist in Florida for Dark Moon Digest.
What's his name?
Alan Kozowski.
Yeah. We also go through George Cotronis.
George Cotronis has done several of our covers.
Betty Rocksteady's beginning to do some of them.
Mm-hmm. So it just depends on the feel of the book, who we go with, who we think will...
Luke Spooner, he did Andy Kaufman.
Yeah. Luke Spooner does a lot more of our interior artwork, except for the digest. I do all the digest interior artwork.
Right. It's interesting. I mean, it's a side of publishing that a lot of writers don't think about, the graphic design.
Well, most of them don't think about formatting. You talk to them and they go, I need somebody to do the formatting. It's like, okay, well, are you just going to stick a Word document in there? And fortunately, that's what they do, I
mean, so many self-published and small press books just look like
they look
crap.
Yeah.
No, I've seen it. I know what you mean. It's interesting because the first thing anybody sees is the cover.
Yes.
And that's what sells the book most of the time. That's what leads them to look at the blurbs and the synopsis. So I imagine what you're doing is the most important part of this, setting up the book. It's just, if that's a bad cover, people aren't going to buy them.
So then I look at a lot of the Big 5 books and I go, God, that's the worst cover I think I've ever seen in my whole life.
Those Big 5 publishers, they like to play it safe.
Yeah, their covers are normally kind of mundane.
Really similar to each other, too.
Yeah.
I think, that one's sold, so let's have it look like this.
Well, let's say we have an author out there who needs to contact you, Lori, because they want their book designed professionally. We have a lot of paranormal authors who do their own books, who self-publish, who listen to Parax Radio, listen to our show, and I'm sure they have more books in them that they want to do, and they're just using the online design programming to design their books. But what if they want to make it professional looking and really get that edge, which is so important when people page their book? How do they get in contact with Lori and Michelle?
My website for graphic design and book design is www.theauthorsalley.com, and they can get a hold of me there. Or my email address is LoriMichelle7411@yahoo.com, and that's Michelle with 2 L's.
So what kind of books does PMP like to publish?
Anything dark and different. We tend to go towards the darker side. We don't want the same old trope. We're looking for things that are new and unusual.
It's a stereotype to say this, but we know it when we see it.
Yeah, that too.
You get a really good book, and you love the way that it's written, and it's just the best thing you've ever read. But then you go, but we really don't do aardvark pornography. Do you ever get any books that are well written that you have to reject?
Yeah, we get a lot of non-genre stuff, and we have discovered we suck at selling things that are not genre related.
Well, everything we have is everything we have is so dark and stuff. And then if we have this cheery book, it's it stands out, and people kind of look at what? We don't want that,
We're also kind of leaning more toward novellas lately. We want to embrace more novellas.
Well, it seems like most of the novels that we've had, especially recently, have been in the 90 to 100,000 word range. So
I would say anything about 50,000 is a novel.
I know that. I'm just saying the novels that we've had lately.
Yeah, we've had some longer ones.
Have been really long. So
the issue with these long books is the longer the page count, the more you have to charge.
Right.
Yeah.
Because it just costs a lot of money to print them.
Right. And that's, I know the small press revolution has been great, and people go, but I don't want to pay $16 for a book. That's basically what it costs us to print the dang thing.
I mean, just think about this. Before you complain about how much a book costs, imagine the audience I'm talking to right now.
Yeah.
How much time went into this book? How much time did the author spend writing it? How much time did he spend, or she spend, submitting it? And then it was finally accepted. And then someone had to edit that book multiple times. They had to do a email swap back and forth. What do you think about this edit? What do you think about this edit? And then someone had to format that book. And then someone had to make a jacket for it. Then someone had to promote it. Someone had to print it. Someone had to send it off to the distributors. I mean, it takes a long time, and $20 for that product, I mean, it's worth it.
Yeah.
You'll pay a lot of different people when you buy a book.
Yes, a book is a major investment of time and money.
Yeah.
It takes more than a year to get a book ready.
Well, thanks, guys. I'm sure we'll be talking again, and thanks for having me on your show, and that'll come out next Monday, where we basically get to ruin our careers by bashing Stephen King's writing.
We talk a lot about families, children, the joys of having children.
Of course.
Yeah.
And giving the story a lot more depth than was ever intended. You are Max with the Third and Lori Michelle, and you can find them at perpetualmotionpublishing.com, where you can order Max's book, The Nightly Disease. We'll have links up at our website at www.whatariyoufraidofpodcast.com.
People can subscribe to the newsletter at www.pmmpnews.com.
They can, and then they can see the story in print.
We have monthly fiction.
Thanks, guys, for being on the show, and I'm sure you'll be back.
Thank you. Besides the fact that I'll probably be dead in 30 years, but that's okay.
The planet will be just dust.
Keith Fox Dunham lives in Philadelphia with his wife Allison. He's a lymphoma survivor, cancer patient, modern bard and historian. His first book, The Street Martyr, was published by Gutter Book, a major motion picture based on the book is being produced by Throughline Films. Destroying the Tangible Illusion of Reality or Searching for Andy Kaufman, a book about what it's like to be dying of cancer, was recently released from Perpetual Motion Machine Publishing, and Fox has a story in the Stargate anthology, Points of Origin, from MGM and Fandemonium Books. Mercy was recently released by Bloodbound Books. Fox is an active member of the Harvard Association. He's been published in hundreds of short stories and articles, and his motto is Wrecking Civilization, one story at a time.
Phil Thomas resides in the suburbs of Philadelphia and is an author and filmmaker. His screenplays have been produced into feature films such as False Face and Always from Darkness that are available in major retailers such as Best Buy and Target, as well as availability on Netflix and Amazon On Demand.
The views expressed and the opinions given by the individual host and their guests do not necessarily reflect those of Para X, its affiliates, or its sponsors.